I have never wanted any of my videos to become about my mental health. The goal of my vlogs were to capture memories and good times like a video journal. I love capturing them, I love editing them, I love sharing them, I love watching back on them. I have not been able to safely watch back on my videos for a while now, because I know what's in them, because of what they've had to become for me to survive the journey I'm on. Because I'm not well. Not mentally, and not even physically, due to my ulcer that I still have and other chronic symptoms. And I don't feel like I'm getting help. The last time I saw my primary care doctor, he was fine giving me more ulcer meds, and in fact he gave me a stronger antacid. However, when it came to addressing my anxiety, he wanted me to just be on a daily anxiety pill, and I knew it wasn't going to help me. I needed one that I could take in the moment. And I hate that it took things getting bad and me becoming an inpatient to get those meds that I needed. I didn't even have to ask for them. They offered them. And due to my stress and everything, I had gained a lot of weight, and all my doctor said was, I want you to be eating around 1,300 calories a day, and I want you to start exercising. And that was the last time I saw my primary care. And I was supposed to have a follow-up appointment to see how I was doing on the anti-anxieties, and I canceled it because I stopped taking those. He didn't. I didn't fully feel seen or cared for. And that continues through every reach that I've tried to make to get help. And then when I was forced to get help, it wasn't help. It was traumatizing, and tonight will have been 1 month. And I am reliving it daily. In fact, I had a dream a couple nights ago. No, yesterday night. Yesterday morning I woke up from this dream, and some of it's kind of exaggerated because it's a dream, and some of it's like pretty spot on to at least how I felt. Me and my hubby are calling where I was just the U to make it less triggering, so I dreamt I was back at the U, and that I had went home, but less than 24 hours I was back in there, and I didn't even remember being out at all. I was talking with the therapist, and she would only hint at what happened, that my youngest had reached out to them, and that's why I was back in, but they would never fully tell me why. I dreamt that I hadn't been given any ulcer meds all day. And when the nurse finally brought them, they were not the right ones at all. She was glad I caught the mistake and left to go get the right ones. Time passed, and I asked again for my ulcer meds. She flat out said, "Not tonight," as if it were too late in the day. My husband and the kids were waiting because they were allowed to take me to a family swim activity that night and then bring me back. And that would never happen there, by the way. Once you're in there, you're in there. You're basically a prisoner until they deem you okay to go back into the real world. But since she wasn't giving me my meds, I said I needed to be discharged to go home then. They were taking forever on the paperwork. And I had to basically test out, but she was asking the questions too fast. And my family was waiting outside for me. The last thing that they knew was that I was just waiting for meds, and then I was going to come meet them outside. So I asked if I could call to update them. They refused to let me call, and even found papers proving that I didn't need to take all the ulcer meds I was asking for. I tried to look at what the paper said about that, but they wouldn't let me look close enough. I was about ready to just go back to my room and stay another night, and hoped that my husband would call in to find what's going on. And then I woke up. So I feel stuck there, and it's so triggering. I was avoiding looking at my charts on my health because I didn't want to get triggered, but one night I happened in there and I was reading everything. There were so many blatant lies in there. Like saying that I was refusing food when I wasn't. Like saying that I was not under distress, even though I asked for an anti-anxiety and they charted that they gave me one. They said that they had offered me a variety of different meds and I was refusing them. They said that they offered me different coping skills for my specific situations, and they never discussed that. It took almost an entire month, but hubby finally got a hold of a manager because he was calling almost every day to the patient advocacy group to complain about how I was treated. They would never call back, and he could never get a hold of anybody. He would just leave voicemails. So finally, he called back just to the main unit and said, "I need to talk to a manager." And he actually called hubby back, and he took great notes and detail on our complaints, which was a lot more once we sat down and wrote them out. I was surprised at how much there was. And there's enough that we could sue both them and the emergency room for the lack of care. But I'm exhausted, and I don't know if that will even get pursued. Hubby feels better that his call was finally answered and that we were heard. But all he said was, "I'm sorry. And I know it doesn't erase anything, but I'm sorry, and I'm going to talk to my team to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." And I'm like, I don't care about anyone else. I'm reliving this every day. Before I went in, I was a confident person, and I knew who I was. I was taking care of my family. I was showing up. Life was hard. Yeah, it was hard. But now I'm not functioning. I don't know who I am. I've been trying to get back into who I know I was, a content creator and just a creative person in general. But I wake up, get my kids to school, and then watch TV. I take a nap, wake up, pick my kids up from school, watch TV. If my husband isn't home yet, because he's been going into work earlier so he can be home earlier to help. So he usually makes dinner, which is so amazing. But like last night, he had training, so he didn't get home, so I made dinner. But because of all of my disorders, something as simple as making a meal for my family puts me under a lot of stress and anxiety, and some days I can't do it, or some days I push through it, and then I have to go take my dinner and eat by myself in the bedroom because I can't handle anything else. My husband was able to finally find a therapist. It's incredibly ironic that he was calling directly to the hospital asking for appointments with their psychologists, and either they didn't work with our insurance, or, well, that's the case. Like, none of them worked with our insurance. However, directly from the hospital, we have a financial plan, so they will help cover a lot of it. So we're like, we don't need to have our insurance looked at. We just need someone who's available. The next available appointment with anyone is 3 months out for a psychologist. So my husband finally found someone who's going to be regularly available, but she's, what is she? A CMHC. A licensed master's level professional who diagnoses and treats emotional, mental, and behavioral disorders, a clinical mental health counselor. She's not even a therapist. She's a counselor. I cannot begin to tell you how badly I don't want to go. It makes me physically sick to think about going to therapy. And this works for our schedule, actually. However, she's available at 8 p.m. And I am supposed to see her tomorrow night. Which a month ago I was settling into my bed at the U, scared and alone. I do not feel safe opening up to anybody right now. And it has nothing to do with the context of what I would say. It's just a matter of fact that that trust has been burned over and over again. That even the psychologist at the U that I connected with, though I was being reserved with him based on my experience 24 hours prior in the ER to that therapist, I just didn't feel safe opening up fully. And he even lied in the notes. So how can I trust when everyone who is supposed to help and take care of me hasn't? And I know the first therapy session is more of a get to know you and establish where we're gonna take the therapy, what direction do we need to go, but I'm sitting here knowing that my name is Sadie. And I've been traumatized. And I'm broken. I'm not functioning. But I don't feel safe to tell you anything. Good news is we reached our deductible by a lot, and my therapy should be free. If not, it'll be $25 a session. I just wish I could have gotten help before it got... I just wish I could have gotten help before it got this bad. And like I said, I would reach out. I'd even reach out to the hotlines. They never helped, and most of the time left me feeling worse. And that's my experience with getting help, is I always leave feeling worse. Or just not any better. So I am just going through the motions, as much as I have to, until I can just lay in bed or go to sleep. I'm just feeling so stuck. And when you're stuck and terrified to take the next step, terrified to open up, terrified to reach out, this is when I'd rather just drown. Because reaching for help hasn't helped. And I'm too tired. When I recorded my experience, I really thought I would just need a couple of weeks to just be with no responsibility and just rest. I really thought I'd be back to my old self. But it's been a month. I just don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. I'm basically holding down the fort until hubby comes home. And then we're hanging out for a little bit. Then going to bed and doing it all over again. I'm stuck. I'm not going anywhere. I've been so traumatized. I was talking about the altars that we had lost. I made the mistake of bringing that up in the ER. It was literally like, is there anything else that I should know? And I was like, sure, why not? So I mentioned we used to have DID. And we're grieving the loss of our altars because they never felt safe. And they wrote that I said they committed suicide. I never said that. That's not what they did. That's extremely offensive and triggering. They didn't do that. I don't... But that's what it says in my chart now. And all that trauma, I almost forgot about my girl journey. When we had our first altar integrate, I took on some of her qualities, and then the rest of them developed this new altar that was literally born to be there for me. She loved me, she adored me, and she helped me stay feminine. She helped me stay soft. And that's when I knew that we were having a full integration. Not only did we I'm still getting memories. Memories come in that weren't mine. But when I knew she wasn't there anymore, because that was literally her purpose, was to be there for me. And I can't believe I forgot about her. I named one of our spirit babies after her, for God's sakes. Like, the trauma has totally fucked with me. That I almost completely forgot about someone who was one of the most important people. All I can think of when I think about having to go into therapy is, first of all, it feels so similar to how I felt the night of there was a cop in my bedroom. And then we walked to the living room and there were 5 paramedics. They were all men. And when they told me I had to go to the ER, oh my God, I did not want to go. And so that's what going to therapy feels like. That I have to. Logically, I think, well, I can't possibly get anywhere in life if I don't go. But I am absolutely terrified to go because every time I go, I don't get help. Hubby keeps trying to reassure me that he'll be there and he'll help me through it. But it's going to be awful, and all I can think of is be like, hi, my preferred name is Sadie, but I don't know who I am. I'm terrified to tell you anything. I can't trust to tell you anything. And wait for her to ask a question and then contemplate if I'm feeling okay to answer her question. And it's... Normally I'm a person who wants to just get it all out. I want to just trust. I want to get it all out and I want to work on it and I just want to get it going and get moving and get... But now I'm like so terrified to even dip my toe in. Like paralyzingly. And I'm exhausted on top of that because of all the times I have tried. All the times I did get back up and all the times I did keep going. All the times I kept trying. That my life is basically half over and I haven't even lived yet. It's exhausting and there's so much to grieve. And so, I just felt like I needed to do this update, I guess. I think I even had these feelings before it got really bad that I was missing Brody Bear. He was the first doll that we ever painted, and he belonged to that first altar that we lost. And that's how I knew we were losing her, was I was feeling interested in Brody. And I wanted to hold him, and I have this whole vlog on that train of thought of getting my own Brody. So I ordered a new kit and painted him, and I named him Cody. And then I thought the spirit of my miscarried son had attached to the doll. And then felt like he hadn't, that I was like misguided. And so then I couldn't bond with that doll anymore. But a couple of days ago I was really missing Brody. Not just his face, because the original Brody, we repainted him a third time and gave him different limbs because Brody was sculpted after a real baby, and he was a twin. He had a sister, and he died a few months after he was scanned, and he's super skinny. He's so little. So the original Brody, we gave him different limbs so he looked healthier and more baby fattish and like he was doing well. So I was missing the original Brody, the full kit. He's the Leaf kit by Bountiful Baby, and I was missing that full kit. So I got out the doll that I painted for myself and renamed him Brody. So I have Brody back, and I've been hanging out with him, and I go back and forth between him and Nyla right now, so they're both in my bedroom. I love how tiny Brody is, and I love how large Nyla is. She's the size that my youngest was. When we were really struggling after she was born. And I don't know how we took care of her. My oldest will tell you that she took care of her. She would wake her up and bring her a bottle. And I just remember late nights with her watching Dr. House. But she was a mama's girl always, and she still is a mama's girl. But there's that age, was it 9 months, when she starts developing who she is. And that's the size Nyla is. And when I hold Nyla, I can almost imagine that I'm holding her again when she was that little. And in ways of our system, I'm still not sure if I've existed before I found my name, which was June 2023. or if I just have a whole bunch of shared memories, and especially now after integrations. Anyway, I'm exhausted from sitting here and recording, so I'm going to go watch something. I've been watching a lot of hot ones. I can't eat anything spicy, so it's really fun to watch them, and it looks so good and to watch them eat all those hot wings. And it's so interesting to watch how some of them are like not phased at all and some of them are like dying, and that's really fun to get to know more about like my favorite actors and artists and whatever. And it's a great distraction from everything. I also am still watching my favorite show, Evil. And then, of course, I still like to enjoy watching James Turner or John Wolfe or Sino or Gary play games and horror games. I decided I can't watch horror movies right now, however, because of the body, the mind, like, you can watch something and it'll react the same as if it's happening to you. So the last time I tried to watch a horror movie, it was really upsetting my ulcer, causing all that stress and stuff and adrenaline to just flood my system. So I'm like, shit, this is not something that's safe and healthy to do right now. So, however, watching horror games is different because I'm watching them do it. If I was playing, I couldn't do it, but watching them and watching them react to it is funny. And if I get a jump scare once in a while, it's just funny. I don't know. It's different than watching a horror movie. A lot different. So that's what I'm doing right now, and dreading therapy tomorrow and reliving when I'm alone or when it gets quiet, I relive it. So I'm going to go now so that it doesn't get too quiet and just find something to watch, and that's where I'm at.